Yeah, so next we'll turn our attention over for our partners updates. We have an update today from Ophea. Do we have Andrea here yet? Yeah, okay. So we have Andrea Hafel. I apologize if I said your name wrong there, Andrea. Andrea is going to be doing an update for Ophea as a whole, but also is going to be giving a presentation on one of their specific resources. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Andrea in a little bit more detail now, and then I will turn the floor over to her. So Andrea is a teacher in the York Region District School Board and is also currently seconded as the Health and Physical Education Curriculum Consultant at Ophea. She has been a part of many regional and provincial initiatives that support the HMPE curriculum, healthy schools, and also the daily physical activity provincial policy. She is a strong advocate for people with disabilities and has spoken at professional learning networks such as the Hospital for Sick Kids, the Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, Jumpstart Charities, and Autism Ontario. She also shares her intersectional identities as a parent of two amazing children, one of whom has multiple disabilities and the other who is neurotypical. Andrea uses the pronouns she and her and asks you to refer to her as such. So I will turn it over to Andrea now for her Ophea update and her presentation on their great new program. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you so much, Courtney. Very excited to be here today. Rushed straight from picking up both of my kids from school. Let me just share my screen. Courtney, how much time do I have, including the Ophea updates?
I might get Arlene to answer that for me, if she wouldn't mind. She's a better keeper of time.
Yeah, I can work around whatever time you have.
Well, we have two presentations, so 15 minutes and 5 minutes for questions and answers. I think that both presenters about 15 minutes or so. And if you need more time, we can certainly find a little bit more time in our schedule.
Yeah, perfect. So just a bit of thank you for the wonderful introduction. My name's Andrea Hafele. My pronouns are she, her. Very excited to be here. Marley and I work together in the York Region District School Board, and I'm currently seconded here at Ophea as a curriculum consultant. I'm just going to briefly go through a bunch of slides to share some Ophea updates with programs and services for this month. And then if you require any specific links, I can drop that into the chat box and share this with Marley, and then she can share it with the rest of the group. Okay. And feel free to turn on your mics, and Courtney, monitor the chat if someone asks a question, and then I'll answer to the best of my ability. Okay. Healthy schools, very exciting. Yes, we are national. And Ontario has over 420 schools right now. Out of province, we have over 190. Yesterday, I met with our HSC national partners, PHE Canada, along with Everactive Schools, and we're currently expanding our social media campaign, where we will be doing a whole bunch of data, stats and facts trends. We just had a social media campaign post just go out I guess about 2 hours ago. But the whole goal is just to build some more advocacy around HSC across Canada, and also helping our partners out in other provinces expand. And slowly they are gaining a lot of traction within their provinces. But once again, we really want to make sure that the word gets out that this tool and a whole bunch of other support tools and programs and services in both English and French are here to support the registered schools. Okay. The Healthy School Certification 2022-2023 program overview recording. We have that for you. If you need that link, I can share that. Another great thing that's happening, we're expanding our French side. We received some funding support through the Francophone Community Grants Program Community and Culture Stream. So you'll be seeing a lot of our French presence on social media and whatnot. Okay. Another new to our resources and programs is our internet safety videos. These are all free online, and it's for educators along with parents, guardians, and caregivers. What we're hoping that is that resource supports both a collaborative approach where families are working in collaboration with school just to help students from grades 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. New to this edition are the grade 7 and 8 videos for internet safety. The grade 7 videos all surround on topics of digital footprint online, sharing sexually explicit images online, and how to support that conversation around that. And as you can see with every video, it's also paired with a conversation guide or discussion guide to help the educators guide the students through these conversations. Grade 8, an example of one of the videos that we launched was avoiding dangerous situations when online. And another one was the impact of online violence on relationships and also communication. Okay. This is a very exciting event that we had just before the winter break. Yeah, it's the Draw the Line 16 Days of Gender-Based Violence Prevention. We partnered up with a few provincial organizations, Action Ontarienne, EGAL, Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centers, and also White Ribbon. And we're very excited to support the whole conversation around consent-based approaches when talking about gender-based violence prevention. This provincial webinar series is all located on our portal. I'll drop the link with Marley and she can share that later, but it's all captured into a blog post and you can find the links directly in there too. Okay. A lot of resources, a lot of everything. Okay, so this is tonight. This one's very exciting. We're starting our Ophea office hours. Once every month from now till the end of June, we're opening our Zoom platform every Thursday evening for about 45 minutes for office hours. So our first topic tonight is about virtual health and physical education, promising practices for creating safe and active learning environments. I will share that also with Marley. And basically we're having this moderated by provincial leaders and also educators who are in the field who have taught online, virtual, and also hybrid. Okay. New and upcoming releases. We are working with Medic Alert to create a resource that will be launched called Safe, Students Assisting Friends Everywhere. And this also aligns very nicely with the health topic in our health education. We've updated our wellness activity booklet, ensuring that it covers the inclusivity of the diversity in our classrooms today. We also have a new scenario, new activity under our gender-based violence prevention education series. If you follow us on social media, you'll see, I guess, the updates when that goes live on our platform. And I'll talk more about this last nugget over here. I am here today to talk about our disability-centered movement resource, but we also have a sequel to that, which is an e-learning module. So we've been getting tons of requests for this workshop, and there are some organizations that may not be able to afford the typical 2 to 3 hour workshop for me to come in. The e-learning module is great for that kind of approach. It's free to access, so stay tuned on our e-newsletter and also our social media when that is launched in the springtime. Any questions so far before I jump into that resource? I know that was a lot in such a very short time. Okay. I want to get a feel for the room. We have 42 participants in the room right now. If you could drop in the chat your role in the organization you're representing. I'm sure we have educators in the room. We have system leaders, public health nurses. If you can introduce your name and your role and the organization you're from, that will give me a better idea of how I can position this resource that I'm here to talk about. Public health nurse, thank you, welcome. Lots of public health nurses, very good. Oh, Jeff is in the room. Hi, Jeff. School liaison, health promoter, awesome. I see some familiar names too, which is great. Yeah, Section 68 school, welcome. So this resource lies very closely to my heart. In the wonderful introduction, I am a strong advocate for people with disabilities. Myself, I have a lived experience as a parent and advocate for my daughter, who is also in the York Region District School Board, who is disabled. You'll also hear me interchanging the language from person first or using disability, person with a disability. We have a lot of front matter to position how to approach when someone has a disability. So I will navigate through that with you. But the purpose of my role here today is to highlight what you will find in this resource so that when you go back to your organization supporting the school communities you are in, you'll have some strategies and also the how-to of where to look in this resource to support educators, including administrators, teachers, support staff, physiotherapists, occupational therapists who work with people with disabilities. Okay. Okay, let me see where my arrow is. Okay. First, I want to start getting a feel for the room. Feel free to jump back in the chat right now. I'm going to animate the slide with 3 images. Okay. Image A, you see me teaching to a group of students. Image B, that's an image of one of the support staff I work with in the school that I was at. Image C is the community class teacher. So in York Region, we have community classes, which are segregated classes for students with disabilities, and they are integrated in different points of the day, such as in subject areas such as phys ed, art, music, and even language arts and math. So image C is a picture of the community class teacher with one of my phys ed classes, okay? Take a look at the 3 images right now, and I want you to drop in the chat box what you are seeing, what you are thinking, and what you are wondering. And you can capture that in a word, in a few words, or even a sentence. What are you seeing? What are you thinking? And what are you wondering? Morel, I can share my slide deck with Marley at the end. Inclusive. Thank you, Jeff. Any other words that come to your mind? Connections, caring, engagement, seeing students who are engaged in whatever way that looks like to them. Thank you, Megan. Love that. Togetherness, interaction, alone. As you are populating this chat, all of these words, these sound bites you are putting into the chat is what all of our subject areas and classes and school communities should be, right? And in my many years of teaching health and phys ed, this is such a wonderful subject area where you can find so many entry points to integrate different abilities, different cognitive abilities, different physical disabilities into such a kinesthetic environment. What I love about these 3 pictures is that they all are anchored in health and phys ed. And many times, educators have the best of intentions, but sometimes they might not know the how. How do you integrate someone who is cognitively at a grade 1 level, but who is at the age of a grade 8 level? How do you work with support staff? How do you co-create an individual education plan for a student who is taking phys ed with a Rotary phys ed teacher? Or in your role as a public health nurse, or a community organization who supports school communities, how do you offer physical activity programming or activities or events that includes people with disabilities? So what I'm going to do right now is go through really quickly a few, first of all, a quote to anchor this resource. And this is taken right out from the H&P curriculum for elementary, and also it's also positioned in the secondary. So the health and physical education curriculum promotes important educational values and goals that support the development of character. These include striving to achieve one's personal best, equity, and fair play. And I highlighted the last part of the quote: respect for diversity, sensitivity, and respect for individual requirements and needs, and good health and well-being. And many times I think as educators, like I said, we want this. We want all those buzzwords that you put in the chat box, but sometimes we don't know the how. We don't know how to provide the individual requirements and the needs and how to make that tangible for our students when they are in our phys ed classes or even across the school day, okay? So I wanted to position each section of the resource. So there are 4 different sections. I'm going to go very quickly through each of the 4 sections. So you just have a little bit of a taste or an appetizer of what those sections include so that it gives you an idea of what this resource has, so that when you are supporting your school communities or working with your colleagues in your classroom, you know that this resource is out there and that there are sections in this resource that can help the educators and the community partners that you're working with, okay? So this first section of the resource is called Where Do I Start? Many of the times, a generalist teacher is teaching this subject area, physical education, and they might not know where in the world to start when they are teaching a class of 30 students who are neurotypical, right? Who are developing at their appropriate stage and age of growth. But then they have students with disabilities who are integrated into that environment, okay? So this section of the resource helps the educators start from a doable or a realistic starting point, okay? This section has a whole bunch of disability groupings, and that's what we've called them. And in those disability groupings, they include a definition of what that disability grouping includes, okay? They also provide meaningful ways of how you can program plan for them by providing accommodations for those disability groupings. And number 3, they also provide community partners that educators can reach out to support the child who identifies in that disability grouping. So this is what it actually looks like on the landing page. These disability groupings were co-developed with organizations who work in these fields. So blind, low vision, we work with an expert on that. Students who are wheelchair users, we work with an organization for that. And we also worked with many people with lived experiences who are disabled, who have that context to help us create that section in our resource. You click each of these sections, it is tailored to physical education, and it will provide you instructional accommodations, environmental accommodations, and even assessment accommodations for students who identify with that disability. And what you'll also notice is that some of these accommodations may be similar from grouping to grouping. And that brings me to the whole concept of universal design, okay? A lot of educator jargon that I just shared right now, but please feel free to reach out with me if you need some more specific help, because sometimes we have students who have a dual identification, who might be blind, but also in a wheelchair too, right? And how do we support that student across the school day if they are using that wheelchair, maybe in the hallway, but also using a walker, for example, in a whole school event, okay? I'm going to open up the chat. Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. You're awesome. Okay. The next section of, oh, I wanted to show you this. I didn't even know I added this. So this is what it looks like in my classroom. In this section, as I can show you, I teach phys ed. I'm the phys ed Rotary teacher, and our community class is an identified autism class. The kids all have autism on their IEP, but some of them are paired with a dual identification, meaning that they might have a physical disability along with autism. So I just showed you some of the examples of accommodations that I'm using in my classroom for instructions, lots of visuals, and these are things that you can find in our resource too. Environmental accommodations, what can we put in our actual gymnasium to actually physically support these users, such as seating, using accessible equipment, and even structuring your lessons so that the environment has a flow with how you are delivering your lesson. So all of that is also in our resource. And assessment accommodations, what does that look like when you're assessing a specific expectation that may be modified from the curriculum? What does that actually look like for someone, for example, with a cognitive disability? What does that look like for someone who has blind, low vision, right? And again, this is what it looks like IRL in real life. Okay, section 2, understanding the individual education plan in phys ed. So for those public health nurses in the room that might not know this term, IEP, the IEP, I think of it as the Bible to help a student with a disability be successful. When I'm putting my parent hat on, I like to call the IEP as my weapon of choice, because I really think that it is the weapon to help my daughter access the curriculum. So I'll pare this down in more language that you may be able to understand. Neurotypical students follow a curriculum, and in H&PE, the curriculum is structured in a way for addressing students at the appropriate age and stage of their development. So grade 3, here's your curriculum for PE. Grade 4, here's your curriculum for grade 4, etc. However, sometimes if a student has an identified disability, they may not always be able to access the same curriculum for their age because of their disability. So that's where they need this IEP, this Bible. And this IEP is a modified curriculum to help that student be successful in PE. When we did many focus groups before developing this resource, we found that many teachers knew that the student with a disability may need an IEP, but they didn't know how to contextualize it in the subject area of H&PE. How does this teacher accommodate for them? How does the teacher know when to modify the expectation? How does the educator work with community organizations, parents and caregivers, professionals such as physiotherapists, occupational therapists? This section of the resource helps the educator navigate this whole process. This is what it looks like on the landing page. And we also included examples of what that could look like for the primary, junior, intermediate, and senior divisions, providing a student an example of a student profile and what a modified or accommodated program could look like in PE. Okay. Third section. Okay, I love this section because many boards, different schools offer physical education in different ways. Same as when we think outside of PE, let's think of intramurals. Sometimes intramurals are offered in an integrated environment. Sometimes intramurals are offered for a specific grade, a specific ability, right? It can look, sound, and feel different in different ways and for different reasons. So in this section of this resource, we support the user in understanding the different types of settings where physical education can occur. So it could occur in a self-contained setting, where it's a setting where it's just for students with disabilities. Sometimes students aren't ready for an integrated environment where they are more successful in a self-contained environment because of their age and stage that they are at and their ability. Some settings can be integrated, and that's what I'm used to more at my school, where I could be teaching a grade 7 class and 3 kids from the community class are integrated into that integrated environment. And then there's also reverse integration, and I'll explain more of that when I show the pictures. But this section is great because it shows how to navigate. It provides question prompts on how to navigate which setting is best for your students and ask guiding questions to support your program planning for that student. And along with that, we provide sample scenarios to help the educators decide which setting could be best. And sometimes students with disabilities might start off the school year with a self-contained setting, but then have other points during the school day where they might be integrated, maybe during intramurals, maybe during recess time, maybe during a whole school event, okay? This is what it looks like on our landing page. I'm gonna skim through that. So here's an example. So at my school, we do all 3. Self-contained, where the community class teacher teaches each student in the class with 6 students and 2 EAs. And this is where the 6 students work on their IEP, that magic Bible that has their individualized goals, okay? Then they may come to me for in an integrated setting. And this is where I am in collaboration with the community class teacher, where I find entry points where they are able to demonstrate their learning from their IEP into an integrated setting with peers their age. What does that look, sound, and feel like? Everything is in this resource. And then there's reverse integrated setting where this might not be very common in many schools, but it's lovely when you do it. So this is where students from the mainstream class are pulled out of class throughout the school day, where they come down to the gymnasium to work with the students in the community class for phys ed. So it's the reverse. And what's lovely is that all three settings in my school, in my experience, balance each other. It provides the students with the intentional teaching, but also provides the intentional teaching for students that are neurotypical, okay? The last section, which may be the most useful for community organizations and roles such as public health nurses, physical activity providers, is the fourth section, which is called physical activity opportunities outside of the classroom and in community settings. So this can look like intramurals, whole school events. It could look like a Terry Fox Day. It could look like a winter walk to school day. I know many schools in our school board has celebrated that. But this section helps the educator or the person who is planning this event or this program or this opportunity on how to approach that when working with people with disabilities. What could that look like in a self-contained setting or an integrated setting? Okay, that's it. My best, I know I threw a lot of information at you about this resource and also about updates with Ophea, but my best advice is what Jeff put in the chat box. Sign up to Ophea and become a member for free to ensure that you receive our monthly e-connection newsletter. Follow us at Ophea Canada on all social media platforms, and you'll be frequently notified on upcoming resources, things that are launched, events, programs that are happening. One thing that I want to note again is that there's an e-learning module to this. So this can be easily accessible in the spring for free off of our website. But that's about it. This is my jam. Let's just say you come across working with a school community in the future who has families or a family with a disability and you need support, feel free to reach out to me. My address is andrea@ophea.org. This is my jam. This is my passion. This is my baby here at Ophea. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thank you, Julie, for your kind words. But yeah, I think that's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Andrea. Your passion really comes across. You're very knowledgeable and well-spoken on this topic. So thank you so much for all the updates. I love the concept of the Ophea office hours. I'm sure that will be really well utilized. That's something that's really neat and a different way to approach things. And this new resource is really awesome and, is going to make sure that everybody feels included and not only in, their physical education, but throughout their whole school day. So really important resource. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
yeah, if you have any questions, I'll share this slide deck with Marley and she can share it all with you. So you have all the links to our updates. But yeah, if you follow us on social media, we're doing our office hours tonight and you'll see us there. But thank you so much. One more ask. My manager wanted to take a group shot with everyone so that we can tag your organization. Thank you for tagging us in your most recent social media post. But if you are comfortable and you don't have to turn on your camera, we're hoping to take a group shot with everyone so that we can share our presence and our collaboration with your organization.
Sure. I think if I stop sharing my screen, that would be easier to do. Are you able to do that on your side there, Andrea?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I'll take a few because you're all on more than one page. Great to see everyone. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Hopefully you also have a lot of snow, but also had a chance to enjoy it too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks again, Andrea.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
So I'm going to turn things over to my co-host here, Marley, who is going to introduce our next wonderful speaker.
Awesome. Thank you. And I think Andrea's a professional at taking those photos. I have tried before and like, I'm not even smiling when I know I'm the one taking the photo. So that was impressive to watch. Thanks, Courtney. And thanks for getting this meeting going. We're both rookie hosts, so we're tag teaming and doing this together. So thank you, Courtney. Next up, we are very excited to present our next presenter is from the Jay's Care Foundation, and her name is Jules Porter. She's the Director of Programs. For the past 20 years, Jules Porter has been working with children and youth and adults around the world. As a consultant for the Association of Hole in the Wall Camps, she spent 6 years launching and directing therapeutic recreation programs for children and youth living with life-threatening illnesses in Africa, Asia, Europe, and the United States. As a director at Right to Play, Jules spent 10 years designing and implementing sport for development programs around the world, with the final 5 years focusing solely on working in partnership with 80 First Nations in Canada on the Play program. She has taught as an adjunct professor at Hinks Delcrest Center and has captained Camp Erin, Canada's first bereavement camp for children and youth. Her current role as Director of Programs for Jay's Care Foundation involves partnering with a wide range of agencies across the country who work with children facing multiple barriers, from children living in the remote north to children who are recently bereaved, from children living with disabilities to children who are Crown wards. Jules' work is designed to enhance protective factors among children and youth and support youth to fulfill their tremendous potential. Jules has a degree in child and youth care from University in Victoria with a specialization in bereavement. Thank you. Oh, here's my paper if you're wondering if I'm reading. Thank you so much, Jules. I'll hand it over to you.
Oh man, Marley, thank you for that introduction. Also, I've never heard anyone read it out loud and I will never share it again. It's really an embarrassing experience, but I'm very happy to be here and happy to talk to all of you, and actually pretty excited to follow up after Andrea, because a lot of what she was talking about are things that are sort of integrated into a lot of the programs we offer. I'm joined today by my amazing colleague, Meg. Meg, maybe you can wave to everyone so they can see you too. She is the senior manager of programs, particularly the programs that we run with schools, and also all of our inclusive programs for kids with disabilities. So if you have questions as we go along, type them in the chat. Meg or I will make every effort to answer. And my hope in presenting today is that we share something that gets you excited to either get involved in running one of our programs, or to tell someone you care about that these programs exist out there, or that it gets you excited to partner with us on something bigger or bolder that we haven't thought of before. So my goal is to come out of this before the 15-minute mark is up and give lots of people opportunity to send questions, comments, thoughts, and ideas our way. Okay, so in a nutshell, Jay's Care Foundation, for those of you who don't know, we are the charitable arm of the Toronto Blue Jays. Our offices actually sit inside Rogers Centre, which is pretty cool. But we use that space and that brand power to try to empower kids who are facing all sorts of barriers to get involved in sport and unlock their potential. Most specifically, Meg and I spend all our time trying to get the kids who usually sit on the sidelines, the kids who are facing barriers to equity in life across the country, to give them a sport that they can enter into and create a whole bunch of really cool experiences for kids in that environment that inspire them to stay active and healthy, and also develop a whole bunch of life skills that they can use for the rest of their lives. I think it's important to note that we say baseball loosely, because a lot of what we do does not necessarily look like baseball. It looks like softball, it looks like introductory PE, it looks like foam balls and foam bats, so you don't need to know how to play baseball to participate in our programs. You just need to want to support kids who are facing barriers and get them playing and laughing. In terms of our scope, we are a national charity, and last year we were able to work with more than 46,000 kids across the country. We partnered with 383 schools, and this year with Meg's incredible leadership, we're partnering with lots more, and hopefully after today, you'll be able to tell the schools that you work with to sign up to work with us in the future. We partner with tons of grassroots agencies and individual First Nations, as well as tribal councils. So if you have some connections there, we would love to work with them. And a lot of what we do is we deliver programs directly. So we hire and train staff, and we run our own programs that sort of feel a little bit like a living lab. We use all the best practices we've been able to develop with amazing advisory groups to run day-to-day programs. And then we take everything that's working best from that living lab and we share it with coaches and teachers across the country so that they can run programs in their environments and know that what we're suggesting is stuff that we've actually pressure tested and we're not just sort of making it up. So last year we trained just under 3,000 teachers and coaches, and we get great feedback for our trainings. They're virtual, they're fun. I've great people like Meg on our team who try to help people not fall asleep when they're taking a training late at night, and she does an amazing job. But we also, I will do a little plug here, we also invest in infrastructure. I'm saying that just in case any of you work in spaces or places where you're like, oh, this baseball diamond looks like it could use an upgrade, or oh, this gym needs a fix, or I wish this field was a safer space for kids to play. Every September, we invite folks to apply on behalf of schools, community organizations, First Nations for our Field of Dreams grant. The last slide of this has a whole bunch of links to places where you can find all these things. And so I'll share this afterwards with the organizers and hopefully you can get it. But if you've seen a diamond that needs an upgrade, we're also willing to support that. Okay, so who do we work with? I mean, we work with all kids because we do a lot of reverse integration in the way that Andrea was speaking about it before, but primarily we try to work with kids who are facing the most significant barriers in the country. And so most particularly, that tends to be self-identifying girls who are facing barriers to access to sport. It's children and youth living with physical and or cognitive disabilities. It's Indigenous youth, not just Indigenous youth living in First Nations, but also urban Indigenous youth. It's newcomers to Canada. It's kids who live at or below the poverty line, and it's kids who represent or are part of the 2S LGBTQ plus community. So all those kids who are facing barriers, those are the ones that we're trying to tap and pull into our programs. And if other kids want to come along, we're happy to play with them too, but we center our programs on the needs and sort of strengths of those particular groups. Everything we do, whether it's a direct program or an indirect program, is really based on this theory of change that we have spent a long time developing and pressure testing. And what that really means is that like the basic ingredients is always the same. We work with children and youth facing barriers. We offer reliable programs. They have to be 8 weeks long or longer, so kids really get a chance to know each other and build their skills. And those programs are super trauma informed, and they're rooted in access and belonging. You know, we're trying really hard to help kids feel like whatever Jay's Care program they join becomes like a second family, a reliable second group they can lean on. And it's really rooted in physical activity. So making sure that they're getting, 30 minutes of rigorous physical activity is important. And every program is led by trained and committed coaches. And what we've seen time and time again is if we can get that recipe right, then all of the evaluations we have of our programs keep telling us that the kids in these programs end up more committed to living physically active and healthy lifestyles. They're more socially connected, less isolated, less self-regulation issues because they've got a better network of support. And they develop tremendous life skills, enhanced independence, enhanced leadership. And all of that leads to a better world. So we are trying our best to make sure that these programs can be in the hands of anyone who, wants to see kids today who have been affected by everything that's gone on in this world, but most particularly in the last 3 years, if you're looking for some tools to help these kids really get a leg up, we think these tools work. So just in a nutshell, I will say, I mentioned that we do programs directly and indirectly. Everything that's underlined is a program that we run directly with kids ourselves. That's part of our learning lab. I'm not going to describe all those programs because it will take way too long, but if any of them pique your interest, I encourage you to look them up or call Meg and I afterwards, and we will happily talk to you about them. I'm going to spend most of my time today talking about our affiliate schools program, because I imagine that's probably the most relevant to the Healthy Active Schools Coalition. So yeah, we work with schools and we run these 3 programs to try to get kids who are usually sitting on the sidelines or not even feeling safe enough to try engaged in regular and reliable sport and leadership programming. We work with community-based organizations and First Nations to run a wide variety of programs, many of which look a lot like the affiliate schools program. So if some of you are public health nurses and you're doing work with various community-based organizations, if you like what we're offering in schools, you may want to refer them to our community partners program. We work with tribal councils, and you can see along the bottom, I've listed all the tribal councils we're working with this year to run kind of, I would say they're revolutionary, but I know I'm a little bit prone to loving them because I've spent time on them, but these are kind of innovative health programs where we work with a variety, usually anywhere between 4 and 12 First Nations that are associated with the tribal council, and build an Indigenous baseball program that's designed to achieve lofty health goals, whether that's to reduce suicidal ideations or to increase connection to local culture or reduce gang violence. We have tried lots of different stuff, and what we've seen is that it has been tremendously powerful. So I'll leave it to that. If you think that's exciting, please call us. We'd love to start some more. We work with baseball and softball associations to try to help them make their leagues way more inclusive. And one of the ways we do that is through Challenger Baseball, which is an adaptive baseball program that centers on the needs of kids with cognitive and or physical disabilities. And then we invest in infrastructure. So you can see over here, this picture is a picture of a diamond that we invested in the full refurbishment of, and it's beautiful. So we will invest in yours if you want us to as well. Okay, so into the meat of today, I wanted to tell you, oh, before I do, I wanted to tell you, it's good, queuing me up here. We run our programs with all of these partners, but once they sort of come into the Jace Care family, we recognize that like sport and play alone are not necessarily going to make the biggest change in their life, that it's one piece, but there's lots of other pieces that may be remarkably helpful in their lives. And so we leverage the power of a relationship with the Toronto Blue Jays to try to get lots of partners to give us more stuff that can help families and community partners out. So for example, last year, we were able to provide close to 250,000 healthy meals and snacks to families in our programs who are struggling with food insecurity. We were able to provide 2,583 winter snowsuits for families in our programs who could not play in the winter because they don't have access to good winter stuff. We were able to provide 280,000 brand new books to librarians and schools that we work with so that kids who don't have access to new books could have access to them. And we were able to offer families that work with us 2,394 hours of respite service. So if they were really struggling post-pandemic to support their kids, they could access these. So we're not just sport, we also try to do all this wraparound love, and we measure our impact. So these are just 2 examples, but we found that 61% of parents and guardians whose children are in our adaptive and inclusive baseball program, which is Challenger Baseball, reported that it's the only sport program their kid is participating in. So in the back of what Andrea just talked about, what we see is, I'm a parent of 2 kids and they have access to so many sport and recreation programs in our community, but also at their school. But what we hear over and over from parents in our Challenger Baseball program is that there are just not enough opportunities for their kids to participate. And so we're trying to change that, not just for kids with disabilities, but for kids who are left on the sidelines all over the place. And 95% of the coaches who run our girls-centered program called Girls at Bat, they reported that the majority of their participants in the program demonstrated an increased level of sport and desire to return to the program the next year. Okay, so this is where I said I'm going to get into the meat of it. Here it is. This year, for the past few years, we've been pilot testing this program with schools. Last year, we really blew it out and said, okay, schools, we're ready to try it with all of you. Schools loved it, and we did it again this year, and we have 753 schools registered for our affiliate school roster of programs. There are many different programs that educators can pick to bring into their programs, and I'm going to tell you about them in a second. But what you might see over here on the right-hand side is the majority of the schools that are in our programs are in Ontario. And I know I'm talking to the Ontario Healthy Schools Coalition. So if you're not in this roster, we would love to get the schools that you work with to start considering joining us. So what are the affiliate school programs? They are a host of programs that educators, community nurses, social workers, educational assistants, phys ed teachers can run at their schools. They have to be 8 weeks or longer, and they're designed to be fully inclusive softball or baseball programs. They're designed for students who are 6 to 18 plus. We work with lots of vocational schools where the student body is much older than that, so we don't limit it to 18, but generally, we find that the students do best in this program if they're at least 6 when they start, because it has quite a bit of fine and gross motor skill development involved. We challenge folks to make it like a net new experience. This is a new team that kids can be on. It can be integrated into gym class, and that can make phys ed even more fun, but we really also want it to be happening after school, before school, or during lunch, so that every kid who joins it can say, I'm part of this new team, that's my team, and I'm on the team. Teachers can start it at any point during the school year, and they can run it anywhere. So we have lots of folks who are running this program in their gym, folks who run it on their baseball diamond, other folks who run it out in a field, and some folks who block off the entire parking lot and run it in the parking lot. So it's amenable to whatever the environment is where you're working. The way the program works, there are 4 different programs that schools can sign up to be a part of, and I'll tell you about those 4 in a second, but all of them have these really common features, which are, we call them the 5 pillars. And so we train folks and we provide them with tools that really equip them with the confidence to lead reliable baseball or softball programming that's like super fun and engaging. We train them in how to make it really accessible. So how to tap the kids who need it the most, when to host it, where to host it, how to really design it based on those kids who are often on the sidelines. We give folks lots of tools for promoting belonging connection. So how do you change the experience so that when kids come into the doors of your program, they want to stay for the long haul? And there's all these little tips and tricks that you can try that really change that and prevent the likelihood of kids dropping out. We do a lot of training with folks on how to make the program trauma sensitive. So we hear from educators all the time, and I'm guessing lots of you public health nurses have been experiencing this too, but you know, kids after the last few years, their window of tolerance, their sort of stress tolerance has shrunk dramatically. And as a result, there's all sorts of behaviors and dysregulation that folks are seeing in the classroom. And so we train folks in how to integrate little things into your baseball program that help kids widen that window of tolerance so that when they get back to the classroom, they can manage a little bit better than before. Essentially, we're trying to teach folks how to use sport as a tool for healing, as opposed to as just a positive recreational experience. We're like, this is a free tool and it can help lots of folks heal. So let us show you how it works. And then we train everybody in how to offer tons of variations. So, you know, to all those images that Andrea was showing of different ways that kids can play, we have all sorts of videos and we do tons of demonstrations about how you can change up a drill so that every kid, no matter their ability, their skill, their willingness to challenge themselves, they can participate in the drill fully at the level that works for them. Okay, so I said there are 4 different programs that we offer as a part of this. Here they are. So what happens is there's a bunch of steps for schools. These are the same steps for community organizations and First Nations. They just happen at different times. But if a school is interested in working with us, they apply, and Meg will put in the chat how you can apply. Right now, there's a wait list because we're running the program again starting in September, but we would love for folks to sign up, and those who sign up now will be the first to hear about the application when it opens. So they apply for the program and they decide which of these programs they want to run. And schools can choose up to 2 of the programs to run. So Challenger Baseball is a program specifically for kids with disabilities. It's designed really to be a self-contained space. That's how Andrea referred to it. So it's kids with disabilities at the center of the design. There are lots of schools that bring in neurotypical peers to help with the program. So it's that reverse integration she was talking about. But really, the center of the entire design is kids with disabilities and how to make the experience as positive and as powerful for those kids as possible. The second one is Girls at Bat. So this is for self-identified girls. We have some schools who offer girls only environments, and usually that's for religious or cultural reasons. And then we have other schools that offer Girls at Bat, and kids from different gender identities are welcome to attend, but the program is designed based on the needs of girls first. Indigenous Play Ball is designed based on the needs of kids with who are Indigenous, and some of the ways that we sort of model that program to really work on helping Indigenous youth in these programs feel a huge sense of pride is we challenge educators to introduce different Indigenous athletes, not in person, they're not standing in human form there, but by picture at the start of every practice to help Indigenous kids see themselves in athletic form. We also encourage them to introduce Indigenous language and Indigenous terms into practices as well. And then Rookie League would be an example of sort of capital I inclusion or fully integrated environment where educators will say, I want to run this program for every kid in my school. Yes, I'm going to tap the 25 kids who I picture never getting involved in anything and invite them first, and I'm going to focus it on them, but everyone is welcome. So they pick what program they want to be a part of. Then we review just to make sure that the school is publicly funded and working with a student population that is facing significant barriers. Similarly, if it's a community-based organization, we make sure that the area that they work in is with folks who are facing significant barriers, and we send them a wicked coach kit. So in this coach kit, they get a coach t-shirt, they get our manual, they get all sorts of really cool tools to use that we train them in how to use them. They get hanging banners that they can put in their gym to help their team feel a real sense of pride. And then we train them. So they come to this virtual training, it's 2 hours long. If it's their second year with us, they come to a different training where they learn from tons of educators who have come before them. And we try to make the training fun and interesting, and we model for them where they can find all sorts of cool videos to keep the learning going. Then once they've done the training, they submit a quick program plan. So they tell us how many kids, now that you know what the program's about, how many kids are you going to work with? When are you going to run it? What kind of support you need? And what did you think of the training? How do we make it better next year? After that, they run the program with for a minimum of 8 weeks, and we send them equipment to do it. So they get this amazing equipment kit, and they can decide whether they want the kit to be a more sort of standard indoor baseball kit, or whether they're looking for more adaptive tools if they're working with lots of kids who may need some Velcro gloves or lots of different size balls. We modify it slightly based on the school's needs. After they've run at least 4 weeks of the program, they submit this really brief midterm report where they tell us like what they've noticed, what are they seeing with the kids. Lots of times we hear things like, oh, we've got 5 kids who've never come to anything showing up for this program every single day. They love it. Or We've heard this program has built a bridge between kids who hated each other at the beginning of the year, and now they totally love each other. Or we wanted to limit it to 20 kids, but we've got 400 coming out. What do we do? So, you know, what we're seeing is that the program tends to have some real cachet as soon as it starts, when the teachers are introducing some of these new tools. So once they submit that midpoint, we send a t-shirt and a hat to every kid, to their school, for every kid who's been showing up to the program regularly. So the kids get a little uniform that they can wear with pride. Then we run a whole bunch of celebrations. Now, we challenge every school we work with to run a closing celebration for their program. We provide them with certificates that are signed by Ace, who is the Blue Jays mascot, to give to the kids to celebrate them. But we're also lucky enough to be able to host a series of them as well. We host a big one at Rogers Center, which is exciting. We also travel across the country and across the province to lead celebration events with some of our school partners, so that we can celebrate those kids, and we can invite the entire school to that celebration event, but really showcase and highlight that we're there because these kids are stellar athletes and we wanted to come and celebrate them. And schools love it. They post all over social media how much they love it. They come back because they want to run it some more. And we have the capacity to support more schools. So that's why I'm here. I'm telling you, I want you to know that it exists. And if you think that this is something that could benefit the schools you work with, we really hope that you'll encourage them to sign up. And that's it. That is it in a nutshell. What you're seeing in front of you right here, this is the link, but Meg's put it in the chat, I believe, to how to sign up for the affiliate school program. This link here is to sort of an overview of the programs we run with tribal councils. This is in case any of you are like, you know what, I wouldn't mind starting an adaptive baseball league in my community. Well, we'll help you do that. We'll also provide you with some funding to do that if you want. So that's that information there for Challenger Baseball. And if some of you are thinking, I want to build a field or upgrade one and I want money to do it, that's the link to our Field of Dreams application, which is that infrastructure grant program. So that's everything I plan to say. Meg, did I miss anything huge? No, it's okay. All right, well then I'll stop sharing and just encourage, if anyone has any questions or comments, please let me know. And otherwise I'll shut up and say thank you.
Oh, Jules, that was so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that program. So I have to let you know that I saw what my tweet was on that sheet of tweets. So I am thanks.
You're
for
famous.
that. You noticed it, right? I'm so excited to be signed up as first time. I have not signed up before, so first time affiliate school. But what I didn't know until I signed up was this wraparound love approach that you mentioned. So we got an email that our librarian could go get some books. Like, we had no idea this was all encompassing and so awesome. And what an amazing program for our children who are facing barriers. I'm so excited to get it started at my school. We're just about to start ours at our school now. So thank you so much to both of you for coming in and sharing with us. And also the community aspect, I didn't know. I thought it was just purely a school program. So it was really nice for our members here to hear that it also can be brought to community organizations as well. If we have any questions, thank you for putting your information in the chat. The doorbell at my school is ringing. The info is there. If you have it, and if you can share the presentation with us, we will share it out with our members as well.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Marley. Thanks so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for coming. And to all our members who joined us today, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to send you out a quick reminder listserv of our OHSC conference that is coming up. I think Courtney mentioned it at the beginning. Save the date for May 26th. We have our conference coming up in Oshawa, Durham. Ajax. Where is it, Arlene?
It's an Ajax.
I can only see Arlene. It's in Ajax. Thank you.
Which I believe is Durhamish region area.
Yeah, it's in Ajax. And thank you very much for coming to our February meeting, everyone. We will share out the info.
Thank you, Marley, for co-hosting. Great job, great meeting. And I will gather all of the information and YouTube the recording, and we'll be good to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Arlene.
Thank you.